Good morning, friends. Today we are going to start with the next point, that is laboratory safety, which is there in your syllabus in the second point of MSc 1 semester 2. Okay, what laboratory safety has to be taken whenever you are working in the pharmaceutical industries in the quality control section or in the quality assurance unit of that particular pharma or food industry. Now, what are the objectives that we are going to see? Objectives of lab safety: to define the essential components of a laboratory safety program. This is one of the objective. Then to administer the program to meet safety requirements. This is the second objective of the laboratory safety. Okay, this we are studying laboratory safety. So the third objective is to evaluate the program for regulatory compliance, whether the regulatory compliance is evaluated properly or not. That we are going to, that is the third objective of the laboratory safety, why it is to be implemented. Next is to identify the hazardous materials and procedures in the laboratory. Okay, we have to identify the hazardous materials which are present in the laboratory and the procedures which are hazardous in the quality control laboratory. Now, what are the hazards in the lab? First is the biological hazard, and in the microbiological point of view, biological hazard means exposure to the blood and body fluids and specimens that harbor HIV, HBV, HCV, etc. bioterrorism, that may cause bioterrorism. You know that in Wuhan's lab, this coronavirus is said to be, is believed to be leaked. Okay, means what, it has been exposed to the outer environment. So biological hazard has to be taken into consideration. Means we should not allow that particular organism which is being experimented in the laboratory to be exposed to the blood and body fluids of the personnel and the specimens which are that harbor the HIV, HBV, HCV, etc. Then chemicals such as acids, alkalis, and toxic chemicals uh, should not come in contact with the human beings. Radiological hazards, they are ineffective radioactive waste disposal. Ineffective radioactive waste disposal is there. That's why radiological hazards may come in the radiological lab, in the nuclear laboratories. Okay. Then fire. Fire means outcome of fire because of short circuit and various other reasons are there where alcohol is there, it can catch fire. That hazards should be taken into consideration. Then electrical accidents means electrical shocks being uh, accidents by the personnel, those should be avoided. Next, the introduction will see why biosafety practices are to be implemented. So protection, first protection of the workers, protection of the product, co-workers, then lab support personnel and the environment. Next, safety management plan. What safety management plan has to be implemented? Development, implementation and enforcement of a quality safety management program, that is safety workers, should be implemented. Then occupational safety and health administration, OSHA, it is also called as OSHA, that is risk assessment of each lab task, has to be implemented. Then there should be a well written safety manual which defines the program and identifies the responsible per people. Okay, then WHO has published laboratory safety guidelines and ACDP, advisory committee on dangerous pathogens, which has been formulated for the biosafety levels for all the microbes. Then the safety documentation and the records, it means the laboratory safety manual and the policies and the procedures we are going to see. Sample components are housekeeping, personal protection, safe decontamination of equipment, decontamination and waste disposal, then emergency procedures, in lab first aids, accidental injuries, then post exposure prophylaxis, contacts, personal responsibilities, that is hygiene. These are the policies and procedures of the laboratory safety manual that has to be documented in the records. Now these are the safety resources where we are going to refer in the laboratories in which you are working, that is biosafety in microbiological and biomedical laboratories, and laboratory biosafety manual. This is second edition which is to be referred for practicing all these laboratory safety measures which are to be taken. Now, provision of necessary time and resources to produce and implement the plan and communicate it to the employees. This is the prime concern of the persons. Each task is assessed for the risks and accordingly the plan is framed. And the standard precautions are to be taken. Personal protective equipments should be worn, such as gloves, coats, masks. Engineering and work practice controls, workplace design has to be proper. Vaccination should be done timely to the personnel who are working. Safe handling and disposal of the hazardous waste should be done, and use of safety devices should be implemented by the personnel who are working in the quality control department as well as in the quality assurance department and the production department. Then what care has to be taken? Blood-borne pathogens, medical surveillance program, chemical hygiene plan, infection control procedures, hazard communications, showers and eye wash stations, safety eyeglasses should be there in the quality control section before entering into the quality control section or the production unit which manufactures vaccines or injectables. Then record keeping should be done, waste disposal should be there, proper waste disposal of the medical waste should be there, or the laboratory waste should be there, fire safety should be there. Most of the times in the pharmaceutical industries, for fire safety there is a water shower which is placed at regular intervals from distances throughout the campus. Okay. Then spill cleanup means what? When there is a spillage of the specimens, then there should be immediate measures for cleaning up those spills, okay, which are dropped onto the floor, which may cause contamination. So tie the hair, no cosmetic use should be there. We have the persons who are working in the laboratory should tie their hair. Cosmetic, we should not use any cosmetics such as foundations and eyeliners and lipsticks and lip balms and all those things, because those can carry the dust particles. They can stick on the skin and then they may cause contamination. So no smoking should be there, eating or drinking in the laboratory. Screening of lab personnel for contagious and infectious diseases should be there. Safety officer and safety committee. Safety policies are documented in safety manual. You should check for the compliance. Training of the employees. Check for the compliance means whether it is properly functioning or not. That should be there. That should be taken into consideration. Only documented. We have documented all the things in the paper, but it is not being employed by the employees. That is not the thing which is to be implemented. Training should be there for the employees. Safety audit should be conducted. Then risk management should be done. We have to maintain the records and carry out inspections. So we have to also ensure that the current legal requirements and the GLP standards are followed in the laboratories. Then action plan for implementing the safety practices. What are the action plans which are to be identified? We have to identify the hazards and assess the level of risks. We have to give the priority to the risk. So highest risk should be given first priority and lowest risk should be given last priority. So we have to establish and implement the safety policies and procedures. We have to conduct safety specific trainings, and that should be the priority. It must be a priority. Must in the sense, why the must word is used? Because must means it is mandatory, it is obligatory, and that's why we have to compulsorily conduct the safety specific trainings but to the personnel. Then we have to perform the regular audits and assessments. Okay. Now in case of exposure, what has to be done? We should be ready for the emergency before hand. Then we have to we should be familiar with the exposure specific policies. Then we have to conduct the drills. Okay, then we have to keep exposure medicines available. We have to check periodically for stock and expiry of the medicines. So it is not a thing that we should only keep the medicines, and whenever there is a essential it is needed, the medicines are expired, have crossed their expiry date. So that thing should not be done in the laboratories. Those stock of the medicines which are there for safety, whenever you are exposed to that particular pathogen, that should be of current expiry only. Okay, it should not be expired. We have to report immediately if there is exposure of that pathogen or any other risk. Then we have to go to the nearest available first available doctor. Okay, next we have to write a report after post exposure, means after we have exposed, the person is exposed to the laboratory pathogen or any other thing risk. Then we have to write a report and the reason for accident and actions taken to avoid future accidents, that should be written. And training should be given to the personnel that what will happen if we face such accidents in the future. So infection, how it is being carried out: reservoir of the pathogen, then portal of escape is there, then it is transmitted, route of entry, infectious dose, then susceptible host and the incubation period. So what are the risk assessments? Risk assessment are the practices and the equipment. Then PPE kits should be used, immunization should be done, surveillance of the organism should be done properly. Okay, now the laboratory hazards and the factors. What are the factors which determine the impact of the hazards? First is the exposure levels, and second is the duration of exposure, and next is the toxicity or pathogenicity of the hazardous material. Fourth is the safety controls, and fifth is the number and types of the contact with the hazard, and sixth is the host factors, age, health, etc. Then biological hazards: infectious agents transmitted through bodies, secretions, or tissues. These are the biological hazards. HIV, hepatitis B and C, mycobacterium, tuberculosis, etc. These samples are the biological hazards. So, safe work practices, well designed laboratories should be there, containment equipment should be used, management controls, then prevention of unauthorized entry, removal of bioterrorism agents, all are the biological hazards safety measures which are to be implemented in the laboratories or in the campus. Now the risk group of pathogens and their characterization. First risk group of pathogen is unlikely to cause disease, not considered infectious. Okay, second is the moderate individual and low community risk, unlikely to cause serious disease or it is to be transported. Then prophylaxis and treatment available: Enterobacteriaceae, HSV, Candida, Mycobacterium, or AVM. Third is the risk group of pathogens is high individual and community risk, which causes serious infections but not readily transmitted. Then effective treatment and prevention is available. Okay, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Bacillus anthracis, Brucella species, then Salmonella typhi, Shigella species, rabies virus, yellow fever virus, hepatitis B virus, West Nile virus. All these are coming under the risk group of pathogen number 3. Okay, high and fourth risk group of pathogens is the high individual and community risk, causes serious infections readily transmitted, effective treatment and prevention which is not available, such as Ebola and Marburg virus, variola, KFD, coronavirus. Then now the next is the Delta virus, which is highly mutated. Okay, containment levels, risk group of pathogens. First containment level is a lab to be cleaned daily and have washing facilities. No eating, drinking, smoking, cosmetics, mouth pipetting in the laboratory. Second containment level, above measures means in the containment level one all requirements, and the second is the above measures plus limited access, daily cleaning of benches. Laboratory size should be 24 meter cube per worker. Okay, means every worker should get 24 meter cube of space in the laboratory. Then personal protective clothing should be worn by those personnels. Biosafety cabinet class 1 and autoclave for sterilization of waste must be available. Then third containment level means about 2 means 1 and 2 containment level. In the 1 and 2 containment level, what are the requirements? Plus the lab should be away from populated area, have it should have a biohazard sign on it. Then it should be fully well equipped. Airflow should be monitored and HEPA filtered. Okay, class 3 biosafety cabinet should be is required over here. Then in containment level 4, all the containment requirements of 1, 2 and 3, and then sealed class 3 biosafety cabinet should be there. Sophisticated air movement control and filtration should be implemented, and all the safety features should be implemented. Then designing for safety. Okay, then facility design, water supply, sinks for hand washing, ventilation, then personal protective equipment should be worn, then biosafety cabinets for the product and personal and environmental protection. This is the design for safety. Then biosafety level 1. Okay, this is the standard microbiological practices which restrict or limit the access when working, prohibit eating, drinking and smoking in the laboratory. Pipetting by mouth is strictly forbidden in the class biosafety level 1 in the standard microbiological practices. In the biosafety level 1, this is the way you should wash the hands properly by using a proper disinfectant as well as the soaps. Then biosafety level 1 class 1, the HEPA filters should be used. Okay, room air, there should be positive pressure whenever you are working in a workbench, whenever you are transferring the pathogens from one plate to or one flask to another flask. Then standard practices include keep work areas uncluttered and clean. Uncluttered means it should not be dirty, it should not be messed up with all the plugs and ropes and paper. It should be very clean. No food in the laboratory refrigerator should be kept. Then we should minimize the splashes and the aerosols to come out from our mouth also, and when it comes from the mouth it should not travel to a longer distance, so mask should be worn up by the personnel who are working over there. Then we should decontaminate the work surfaces daily, and we have to maintain the insect and rodent control program, because insects and rodents also disturb the air quality, as well as they carry various types of pathogens from outside environment, and they transfer it into the inside environment. That's why these insects such as flies, mosquitoes, then rodents such as rats, gooses, okay, lizards, cockroaches should be avoided by maintaining a pest control programs. Then biosafety level 2, in that safety equipments, primary barriers. What are the primary barriers? In addition to BSL 1, we should use the biosafety cabinets class 2 for work with the infectious agents involving the aerosols and splashes, then large volumes and high concentrations. Okay, then biological safety cabinet class 2 also contains the HEPA filter, the room air, then potentially contaminated air should be avoided. HEPA filtered air should be entered inside. Positive pressure should be maintained and negative pressure should not be maintained in the class 2 laboratories. In the facility design, secondary barriers requirements are laboratory should have lockable doors. Then sink for hand washing should be there. Work surfaces should be easily cleaned, and bench tops are containing impervious to water, means they should not allow the absorption of water into the surfaces on which we are working over or transferring the cultures. Water should not be absorbed over there, because water activity increases the microbial multiplication, and that may also contain contamination in the future. Okay, then biosafety level 2, all the facilities of BSL 1 should be maintained accordingly, and autoclave should be available, eye wash station should be available. Requirements: location should be separated from the public areas. Structure should be a normal construction. Ventilation should be directional. Ventilation should be directional means what? There should be a proper ventilation of air, means the hot air should be as it is light, it should be ventilated outside by using the exhaust fans and all those things. Biosafety level 2. In biosafety level 2, special practices should be maintained. Needles and sharp precautions. We should use the separate containers for discarding the sharp containers. We should not break or bend or resheath or reuse the syringes or needles after one single use. Okay. Then needles and sharp precautions. Don't place the needles or sharps in office waste containers. Okay, it should be separated uh, in the different containers. Then needles and sharp precautions. If they spill out or if they are broken, then we should not handle them with the hands. Cardboards or other utensils should be used for handling such blood samples which are broken up in the syringes. Then special practices, we should identify the clean and contaminated areas. We should use appropriate warning signs. Then decontaminate the working surfaces. We should report the spills and accidents. Then remove the clothes, lab coats before leaving the work, and no animals are allowed in the laboratories. In the biosafety level 3, biosafety equipments, BSL 1 and 2 safety biosafety equipment should be there, plus BSC class 2 or 3 to manipulate the infectious material should be used. So HEPA filters should be there, room air should be there, potentially contaminated air should be there. So this is the sectional view. Okay, this is the sectional view of this is the sectional view, and this is the front view of the HEPA filters, and this is the area where the we should insert our hands inside, and we should work with those act, we should act, or we should uh, work in the inside area of that cabinet. Okay, so next is the biosafety level 3, that is safety equipments. BSL 1 and 2 safety equipment should be there, plus respiratory protection may be indicated. So you can see the person over here is wearing a different type of a mask, where the fresh the air which is being exhaled by the person is decontaminated, and then it is released outside. Okay, then in the biosafety level 3, BSL 1 means, BSL means biosafety level. Okay, BSL 1 and 2 facilities should be there, plus separate building or isolated zone. Then double door entry should be there. Directional inward airflow should be maintained, and single pass air 10 to 12 air changes per hour. Means what? Single pass air per hour, there should be 10 to 12 air changes. Air should be changed in a hour, in the quantity of 10 to 12 times. Okay, BSL 1 and 2 facilities plus enclosures for aerosol generating equipment. Then room penetration should be sealed. Walls, floors and ceilings are water resistant for easy cleaning. Okay, so this was all about the things, and the rest of the thing we'll discuss in the next lecture. Thank you very much.